There we go. Okay. So I have been listening to Brittany Howard's podcast about developing leaders, becoming a leader and developing leaders. And one of the things that she talks a lot about is leaders add value, because leadership is influence. John Maxwell says leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. And so the way to get influence is to add value. And so a lot of people on our team do a lot of posting, and most of our posting could be better. She gave an example of somebody who posted a picture of her and her husband having a date night and was like, oh, so fun, we're going on a date night. She said, that was a cute post, but does it really add value to her viewers? Now, if she had said, going on a date night, here's our top 4 tips, or here's why we put, why we make sure that we focus on date night. See, just a little tweak, same picture, but thinking about adding value with that post. So at some point, we'll talk about your Plexus post. The basics for your Plexus post is you always need to be identifying and solving a problem. And hypothyroidism is not a good problem to solve. Exhaustion and hormone issues and weight gain and bloating and tiredness, those are things that go with hypothyroidism. Those are good problems to solve because they're going to relate to more people than just hypothyroidism. Makes sense? But we're not going to talk about we're not going to talk about Plexus posts today. We're going to talk about personal posts and how to add value. But what we're going to do first that I thought would be super fun is do some brainstorming and help each other think about things that we have that can add value to other people. And we've done this before, but you know what? It's easy to forget and continue to it's easy to forget and we need to revisit it. So what I want you to do for 3 minutes, now we're going to do 5 minutes. I want you to write down everything you can possibly think of that you could post about, everything that is an interest. Like, what is it that is interesting to you? What is it that you do? What is it that you know about? That kind of thing. So I want you to write down everything that you possibly can. No judgment, no nothing. Just write down. We are brain dumping everything about you that's interesting, even if you don't think it's interesting. What do you do? What do you know? What do you talk to people about? What have you done? Where have you gone? Where do you want to go? All of that. Okay. So 5 minutes. I'm starting a timer right now. Hold on. Set timer for 5 minutes. And I'm going to mute myself and come back in 5 minutes and we're going to start talking about it. Okay, my alarm went off. All right, did everybody write some things? Show me your list. Vicky, I want to see your list too.
Okay. How do I show you my list?
Show me your face and hold up your list.
My list is on my phone.
Oh, and you're on your phone?
Yep. I'll
Okay, well, just
screenshot
kidding.
it to you.
Okay, everybody's got a list. Okay. All right, this is step one. I actually have something super cool that we're gonna do for the next week. That takes a little bit more time. But so step one, we've got some things. I want to just hear a few things. So Casey's first on my screen. So Casey, rattle me off some things.
I put books, 'cause I love reading, camping, type 1 diabetes. Hold on. 2 o'clock. Autism, special needs life, working out, gluten-free recipes, cooking like healthy low carb meals,
Those
journaling
are
and
so good. Like, is
prayer
anybody
needs,
else
special
thinking,
needs
wow?
prayer group.
I mean, is anybody else thinking, wow, she could totally use those things to add value to people? Yep. Okay. All right, Loretta, read me some of yours.
Okay, I put marriage, ministry, Enneagram, cooking, scripture, women's ministry, parenting teens, cooking healthy, organizing events, girls ministry, homeschooling, cooking on a budget. And then I put Hawaii and cruises because those are some of my favorite things.
Awesome. Okay, Vicky, read me some of yours.
Date lunch and why dates are good for your relationship. Because you guys know Gary and I go out for lunches and not dinners. Gardening and what I'm planting, why I'm planting what I'm planting, how to choose garden soil, canning and how to can, and that would be like several different topics I didn't sit here and list out. How to cook for a large family.
Awesome. Okay, I wrote a lot of things on mine, and I even had less time than y'all. So that's how my brain works. But because Jackson was having issues, but I wrote autism, motivation, encouragement, redemption, mom guilt, teachers, special needs, tips for communicating, how the brain works, dogs, cats. I don't like them, but I have them. Farm animals, minister life, the color purple. I literally wrote down the color purple because I like the color purple. Coffee, espresso, humor, mom life, adding value, learning leadership, teaching young kids, anxiety, fear, ADHD, taxes, low maintenance tips, networking, connections, youth ministry, ladies ministry, organization for people with ADHD, seeing the good in situations, positive words, questions. One of the things that I want you to think about is you have a couple of different sources of information. All right. And I loved one thing she said. So we're going to say that in a second. But so you have the things that you're already interested in, that you're already doing, that you feel like you're good at. But then you also have the things that you're learning. And here's the deal. If you're learning about something, then you just have to be one step ahead of the people that you're teaching. And right here, Casey said books. I know Loretta reads and listens to books. I know Vicky sometimes listens or reads to books. But I say that because Brittany said in her podcast, if you've read a book about something, you know more about it than most people, because most people aren't going to read books. Just think about when Vicky gets on a tangent and decides she's going to read a book. And then she's constantly posting, oh my goodness, y'all, just read this, just read this, just read this. Like, that's something that that other people don't know because they don't read books. And so we get this idea in our head that we have to know, like the Enneagram. I love the Enneagram. I'm interested in the Enneagram. I feel very inferior to most people in my knowledge of the Enneagram, but that's not actually true. Just because I've learned a little bit about the Enneagram, I actually know more about it than the majority of people. Just not like Enneagram Ashton, the lady that posts about it constantly on Instagram. Like, I don't know more than her. But I know more than most people because I've studied it a little bit. And so you need to remember that you can create influence and add value by just knowing one step more than other people, right? And so So that's important to remember. But you guys, I love that y'all are on here because you have so much to work with. But both of you, and not Vicky, Vicky's not ADHD. But the other two of you struggle with the same issues that I struggle with. And that's that you got all these ideas. Like, I mean, I even wrote down more things I think than you guys did. You can't just do everything. What you have to do is you have to narrow it down to a couple of things. I would say 2, at most 3 things, because people say you should have 5 pillars. I don't even know what that is now because everything changes. I'm not accepting that right now. Everything changes, but you want to narrow it down so that you can be really good and really focused on the couple of things that you want to focus on. Now, the cool thing is you could try a few of these things. You could pick 2 to 3 of these topics and really work on creating, I don't know if he's trying to give me that or not, really work on creating content that's valuable in those areas. And you may find that one of them is amazing and you get great reactions every time you post it. And then you may find that another one, it's like it falls flat and you're in the commenting group saying, please comment on my post. And we're like, no, because it's your personal stuff. And if it's not working, you got to try something else. You know, your personal stuff shouldn't need comments to get engagement. You got to find your people that enjoy your personal stuff because it adds value to them and they want to keep coming back for more. Does that make sense? And what I'm super excited about for you guys and those of you watching, you have valuable things too. We have very few people on our team that are that much younger than me. So y'all have all had more life experience than me. So you have a lot of value and insights to add from over the years. Okay. But so what I want you to do is to kind of look through that and pick a couple of those things that you're going to really try to dig into. I would say 2 to start with. I mean, you could really start with 1 and see how that goes. But you know, it might be good to see which one does better than the other and then move into focusing more on that. And so like, and you might kind of go through your list and see if any of them fall under the same umbrella. Now don't be like the kids trying to justify their sins that are trying to make everything fit. You know, it's like, well, Jesus wants me to go to this party because he wants me to minister to these people. That doesn't really fit, you know? So don't be like taking your pieces and being like, forcing them to fit somewhere they don't fit. But if you notice that some would easily fall under one category, you could just choose that category, if that makes sense. So, but just kind of look at that. And I want you to pick 1 or 2 to focus on. And then, like 2 to 3 days a week, at least 2, I want you to post about that thing. And I want you to do it in a way that adds value. Some of them are easy to understand. Like if cooking is one of your things, then a recipe is easy. But then also like ask people who don't have that skill what kinds of things would be helpful for them. Ask your people who comment a lot what would be helpful. You could even say, hey, I'm wanting to post more recipes. Would y'all rather have stovetop or crock pot or Instapot? Or what cooking device do you use? That's not the right word. There's things that could go along with that. So you got to think about the different aspects of it. Like with ministry, there's so many different things that you could do, that you could think about. But so we're going to dig into that more later. But I just want you to start narrowing down and picking something to start focusing on and then committing to making posts about that and trying to post about it in a way that adds value. Now, you can add value. Who knows the different ways you can add value?
All the F's.
I say all the E's.
I mean E's.
E's. I
Yep,
think
sorry.
it's the E's, like encouragement, education, empowerment,
Entertain.
entertain, and there's one other E that I always forget. Engage.
Educate.
Yeah.
Engage.
Educate, engage, empower, encourage, and educate, engage, empower, encourage, entertain. Yeah.
Entertain.
So those 5 really, like, those are all ways that you can do it. And Facebook is not as much of a niche kind of thing as Instagram is, but it'll still help you to create a community of people that enjoy what you talk about and want to come back to you. If you really try to focus more on not being all over the place, if that makes sense. Like, you have a couple of things that are kind of your thing. And so I really want us to think about that. Now, I mean, I'm not saying that if you typically post about things for autism moms, that you can't be like, I just did this garden thing the other day and I just loved it. You can do that. But even cooler is if you could talk about how what you're cooking in, or what you're planting in your garden is good for your children because they need healthy food. See how that relates to your overall brand. And there's a tendency to have a scarcity thought of, if I focus on certain things, then the people that don't fit in that, I'll lose those people. Well, you probably don't really have those people anyway, because they're not really engaged with you. And the reason I wrote down the color purple and cats is because whenever you have something in common with somebody, it connects you. Because they think, oh, I can relate to you. You're like me. And so there's so many people out there. And honestly, you're not going to be successful building a business with somebody that is super different from you. I haven't seen that go well in any team that I've seen. Like, you can be different, but your core values have to be similar, or y'all are just going to butt heads constantly. So you don't even really want team members that don't share certain core values with you. Like, I mean, I can work with you if you like cats or dogs, who cares? I can even deal with you if you like the color orange. But if you don't like Jesus, if I post about Jesus and you don't like that, then we're never going to be super close. We're never going to bond super well, because that's who I am. Does that make sense? So you have to be okay attracting the right people and almost like de-attracting. I don't know what the word is. Pushing away, being unattractive to the wrong people.
Repelling.
Repelling, that's the word. Repel, yes. And you know what? You may repel some people. They might be like, I'm not really interested, but that's okay, because you are looking for a certain kind of person that you can work well with. I mean, like, we've talked to people in the last couple of weeks that Loretta and I, that really hate their job because they don't like the people they work with, and they don't share the same values with the people they work with. We get to pick that. But part of finding those people is going to be your posts. And so I think step 1 of adding value on Facebook is to be intentional about topics that you post about and do them in a way that adds value. So let's do an example. Like, Loretta, if you had to pick one of the things on your sheet that you wanted to focus on, just, you can go back and think about it, but just right now, what would you pick?
Probably cooking.
Okay, awesome.
probably.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
so when you pick cooking, all right, so what is an example of a way that you could add value? Well, what's an example of a way that you could post without adding value?
Just posting a recipe, just a random recipe. But I could, for people that are trying to get away from gluten or carbs or whatever, like Casey was talking about, I've got a favorite website that I can go to that, since she already has the recipe there, then I can share that recipe and actually maybe, well, I've thought about videos too, but like, because people want me to do videos. I say people, several people have asked me to, but I don't know.
Okay, so
Like I
you
could,
are like way overthinking this, which
I'm
is
not
okay,
sure, like maybe,
because-
I know, which is
Mhm.
typical.
Yeah, that's
But
no,
like
that's okay.
exchanging things, like I used to use this flour, but now I use this.
Awesome. Okay.
And so maybe like a swapping thing.
Yes. And so I want to take a step back and say, now, a way of posting without adding value would have been,
Hey,
hey,
good.
I made this today. Isn't it pretty? That's all about you. That doesn't add any value to anybody, except maybe it's pretty on their feed.
Right.
So at least it doesn't subtract value, because we definitely don't want to subtract value. Okay. But you guys, I don't have to worry about you guys subtracting value. So we're not talking about that. But so that would be an example of not adding value. Even putting a recipe, it'd be a little lazy to just put a recipe and do nothing else with it, but that would still be adding value. You could add more value, and you
Right.
could add influential value by doing more with it. But like literally just posting a picture of you cooking, I'm cooking today, that's not adding value. Okay. Does that make sense? The difference in adding value and just being about you. So you
Absolutely.
overthought that majorly, but what you need to do too,
That's where I'm
is
at.
you get away. I mean, your brain gets away with you in every direction. And so what I want you to do, you picked cooking. I want you to brainstorm lots of different little ways, all the different little ways that you could post about cooking. I love that I used to use this flour and now I use this flour. What you could even do, this would be super fun. I don't know if you could do this actually. I don't even know if I would do this, but like, you could have 50 pounds of flour. Actually, you could have like 75 pounds of flour and be like, I used to use this flour. Now I use this flour. Side note, I'm holding up 75 pounds of flour because that's how much weight I've lost with my healthier eating. Ask me, reach out to me if you want to know more about it.
Yeah.
I love
I've
comments.
seen people do that, like with
Yeah,
sugar
I have. And that's
or
what I
with
was thinking.
whatever.
But so
Yeah.
that's a way to even tie in your brand of cooking to your plexus without specifically saying, I lost 75 pounds with plexus. Look at me, So, but I want you between now and next week, when we do the training again, I want you to have a full page or more of things that you could do related to cooking that would add value to people. And the reason I want you to just write down tons of things is because I know you have lots of ideas, but you skip past the little ones and then get into I should do videos. What should I do videos about? And then you've missed all the little things that. Now, can we work towards videos? Absolutely. Maybe we need to maybe eventually you need to create a group on Facebook with people that are interested in more information, and you're in charge of this group. And so people get added all the time, and it's about gluten-free cooking or healthy cooking, and people get added. And then in that group, they can watch your video. They'll get more value out of that. And every now and then you could post a video. Hey, if you want more information about this, you can join my group. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But we got to
That
start
totally makes sense.
with little steps. So write down lots of little things. And I want you, because I'm glad you picked cooking, because it can be a lot more tangible than ministry. Ministry is not super tangible, and that's
and more
with.
applicable, just more, covers more people.
Yeah. I think so. And that's
Yeah.
the goal is to
It's not
find
as niche.
people to add value to, and then as you are adding value to them, they will start to see you as an expert or someone they can know, like, and trust. Okay. So you're going to do cooking. All right, Casey, what about you? If you were going to pick one of them, what you going to pick? Which one fills you with excitement more than stress?
Probably reading. That's usually my go-to whenever I need to, you know, digress. I read a book. Like, I love my Kindle, and I love looking at different books. And every time I post about books, people give me comments on like what they're reading and different things. So
Okay. All right. Reading may be a little
so
bit
I like getting different ideas.
Okay. All right. So reading is going to be a little bit different than cooking because they're just different, but I totally think we can work with reading. Because you're going to have people out there that have all kinds of different things that they're reading, but even beyond that, you could talk about you could even like talk about how if people read to their kids, and you could share statistics about people who read and successful people who read. So I want you, this will be a little harder, I think, but maybe not. Like for me, I'm not necessarily a huge reader, so this is going to be a little harder for me, but I want you to try to brainstorm a whole page of ideas of things you could post related to the idea of reading. And you don't necessarily in this list have to decide now how it will add value, because you just need to have all the ideas. And then as you're crafting the post, you can think about how can I share about this in a way that adds value? Does that make sense?
Like reading, like the more you read, it's supposed to help reduce Alzheimer's.
Yeah, I mean, like, so you could do some education on how reading helps.
Yeah.
You could do some tips for how to fit reading into your day. You can do tips for how to choose a good book. Like, so, and you could even like you could find some funny memes about reading and books, because book people really like memes. They like pictures of pretty libraries. But there's all kind, there's like where you read, how you read. One of the things I want you to think about that might help you with this, both of you and Vicky, with whatever you picked, but you're a grown up. Y'all are grown ups. You're the boss lady. So I'm doing you last. But like who, what, when, where, why, and how. Those are good ways to look at, the who, what, the W questions. We've all been there, done that with our kids. Who, what, when, where, why, and how. So like, I mean, and you could even share some cool story, like people that read like cool stories about authors. J.K. Rowling has some cool stats about her and how she failed. There's all kinds of cool things about people who read, people who write, that kind of thing. So you could, so I want you to brainstorm some different things, like, and then top 3 things about something. And then different aspects of do you get books from the library? Do you take your kids to the library? How do you buy them on Kindle? Do you buy them on Audible? Do you read? And a question you could ask is, do you prefer to read books on Kindle, listen on Audible, or read in paper? And then that could be an engagement question, and let people talk about it. And then obviously the easy one is, I need a new book. What do you suggest?
But that always gives me a lot of engagement.
Yeah. And so you have readers on your page, apparently.
I have a lot of readers.
Yeah, which is great. And so you already have some of those. You could also share a book about special needs, or a book about autism. There's
There's a new book on autism, like a boy who had autism wrote a book that I ordered that I want to read. So what I wanted to do is, when I read it, share more about his insights of it.
And so one of the things you can be sharing is things you're learning as you're reading. And so I think that's good. So I want both of you to write down a whole page of ideas, because then what you're going to do is 2 or 3 times a week, you are going to probably 3, but you're going to 2 to 3, you're going to post something from that list. And you're going to make sure that it adds value in one of the 5 E's. And you could even write the 5 E's on your list once you do your brainstorming: encourage, entertain, empower, educate, and entertain. You could write the 5 E's down, and you could make sure that it fits one of those. And you will be amazed, I think, at how much more engagement you have and how much more influence you have when you really purposefully focus on that. Because Loretta, I know you have the potential. You just don't do it purposefully, right? I haven't really either. I need to do a better job of it. But I would say before you post anything, think about, how is this adding value? Now, I also don't want you to be super self-critical and be like, this sucks, it's not adding value. If it does one of the 5 things, it adds value. So literally, Loretta, if you had posted that recipe that you didn't think was going to add value, it would have, because it would have educated. If I posted a recipe, it would entertain. Because it would, anyway, it would be humorous if you tried to cook something that I indicated. I don't know. Anyway, but there's people like me out there that even need to know this utensil is a little bit unstandard. So you might need help figuring out what this utensil is. Anyway, okay. Vicky, did you want to talk about your list, or are you good?
I'm good.
Okay. I figured
Good.
you probably were, but I was going to offer.
You're sweet.
Oh, thanks. I'm jealous you're in your bed. Ooh. Okay. All right. So that's what I want us to work on to start out. And it's a work in progress, but if we are trying to be social marketers, we've got to make sure that our posts are helping us. And if you meet somebody in person, you can build trust and respect in person, but we're not in person. So that's why we have to use our social media to do that. Okay. So we're going to do that. And then the other thing I want us to do is, Brittany talked about that she has her people take several different personality tests so that they can see what all the different tests seem to have in common and really get an idea of what their strengths are. Because I love this, and we've heard this everything Brittany says, I've heard before in a book. Like, I love that, because that shows me that you can learn these skills and you can learn this mindset and you can learn to be successful, because everything she says, I've heard it before in a book. She just says it so well, and probably because she studied and worked so hard. But she said, the best you can ever get at a weakness is average. The best you can get at a strength is excellent or amazing. So we're going to be happy. Like, Casey, you don't love public speaking, right? Like, public speaking is not your favorite thing to do. Do we want you to be at least decent at it? Yes. But if you spend all your time working on being the best public speaker in the world, you're probably going to be miserable, right? Like me, I'm 4'10". Let's say I decided I wanted to be a basketball player. I'm just not tall enough unless they're going to use the little baby hoops. Like, there are no 4'10" basketball players that are famous. Steve Nash, I think, is 5'5". That's 7 inches taller than me. So he's not a good example. Like, it doesn't matter how hard I work. I'm just never going to be an amazing basketball player. That's okay. Because I can work at the areas I'm good at and be really good at them. And I can be excellent and I can be a leader in those areas. And so I think it's helpful for us to take some different personality tests, some different temperament tests, whatever you want to call it, some different strengths tests, and figure out what it is that we are naturally good at, what it is that we are naturally designed to do. Because God made us all different. We know this. This is in 1 Corinthians 15, I think. Maybe 11, 15, all of the above. I don't know. But he talks about we're one body with many parts and that we all have different roles. And it literally says he gave some to be this. He gave some to be this. He gave some to be this. Okay. Just like your whole body is not a toe. All parts of the body, all parts of our group are not the same. And you're always going to be more successful if you are getting to spend most of your time in your strengths. Now, that doesn't mean that you can use it as an excuse and be like, well, I'm bad at speaking, so I'm never going to lead. I'm never going to speak to my team. You can't do that. Or even Moses had to go speak before Pharaoh and he wasn't good at speaking and he ended up having to lead a lot, even though he said he couldn't. He still was saying a lot of the things, which is interesting. But so you can't be like, well, I'm bad at retention. I'm bad at customer care. So I'm just not going to do that. I mean, you can't do that. You can't just cut off a piece of your body and be like, that part sucks. I just don't need it. No, you have to do it, but you don't have to spend most of your time working in that area of weakness and be frustrated. You can spend most of your time working on that area of strength. So I have a couple of quiz links that I'll share. And I want you guys to take some different quizzes this week, and then we can look at the results and see what kind of things pop up. And then, so like next week, what I want us to do is I want us to have a list of the different posts that you can make. That's just kind of your homework to see that you made that list. And then also I want us to have taken a few of the quizzes and then discuss with each other and talk about our strengths and help each other think of our strengths if we're struggling to think of our strengths. Because I think that that's really important. And then maybe brainstorm like, so what does this look like in your Plexus business if this is your strength? Some of the ones are easier, like if one of your strengths is talking or public speaking, well, then obviously leading team calls or doing lives on your Facebook. But then some of them may be a little more, may require a little more thought. And that's why I was thinking we could brainstorm together. Like, well, this strength that you have, how can you use this in your Plexus business to be the best Plexus ambassador you can be? Does that make sense? Awesome. Any questions? Anything you want to add, Miss Bedside Baptist?
What?
I do have a question. Like, can I ask a question? Like, if I'm instead of sharing about, is it something you can like? Can I just ask a random question?
Yeah, because it's engagement about your topic. See, it's not random though, and it's about your topic. It's about your brand or your community that you're trying to create. Because basically you're trying to create a community of people that show up on your Facebook because they like you. I was joking with you, Vicki, because we used to always joke that the people that stayed, we were Church of Christ. So we joked the people that stayed in bed were at Bedside Baptist.
Oh, gotcha.
I was just making fun of you because I'm jealous you're in your bed. But you told us that you were in your bed. Okay. All right. I'm going to end the recording and then see if we have any other